All right, so I think, wow, I haven't done this in a hot minute. This is fun. What's up, you guys? I am the Buckness, and I have not done one of these in a while. Man, I wish I could show you guys the other side of this space. It's awesome. I've posted videos about it. I've like fine-tuned. I don't know how further I can fine-tune this room. I just got new speaker stands. I put more isolation pucks underneath the Gen X, and like there's not a single ring in the stands, man. The walls might be vibrating a little bit, and that's a little bit of a different story. The desk is, I think, is like to a minimum at this point, and it's really helped. But what I really wanted to show you guys was this track that I'm pretty much wrapping up on. Yeah, so what I have right here, I got some reference tracks, and I have this track that I produced with my boy Animus, and I had him jump in on some of this hard size shit going on. And this track I produced about a year ago, man, and maybe even two. I must have started it maybe 2.5 years ago, and like all up until recent times, recent techniques and tools really have polished this out. And what I want to play back first is the original. This is the most recent version, untouched piece. So I'm just gonna skip to right here before the bass line. Disclaimer. Let's do without the disclaimer. I'll tell you later.
Returning to Earth in troubled times, restoring the balance between good and evil. Vishnu.
Okay, so without further just letting this fly out, yeah, I'm pretty stoked on how this thing's turning out, and why this is all funky right here, and why it was all phasey in the beginning. You'll hear it again, is because this is a loop back. So what I've been doing, right, here's kind of the nitty gritty of what I've been doing, right? So I just got this new interface. It's a PCI interface by Lynx, the E44. The thing is smacker. I've never heard anything better in my space yet. And literally, I mean, going from like Army PCI interface back in the day, their multi-face. I had a Mo2 before that, 2408 MK3, then the Army multi-face, then the baby face, and every step of the way is like, holy shit, like this is getting better and better. And then I got the Black Lion audio. I'm like, you know what? I might as well give it a shot because I can't remember what happened with. Oh, my DAC died. I was using a Bifrost 2 and it died out, and I'm like, man, I don't like the sound of the baby face. What's the worst that can happen? You know, I'll give this thing a shot just to see. You know, if I really don't like it, I'll return it. And I ended up liking it. And from the Black Lion audio, I went to the Lynx. Anyhow, long story short, I'm going analog out. I built my own DB25 cable, analog out, going back in, looping back because the sound of the interface is so good. I wanted to print it down in audio, and really, here's what's actually happening. Let me show you guys what's the deal. So these two files, why there's 5 of them is because there's just slightly different processing going on in the project. But how I know there's actually something happening, and here's the loop back. So I'd go analog out of 3 and 4, back in 3 and 4, and record it. And if I play them back and I cancel the phase, and what I did, I'm a ding dong. When I built the cable, one of the polarities switched on the XLRs, so that's why there's a phase cancellation by default. Something I have to rewire myself, which is fine. So how I know something's actually happening, though, is just do a simple null test, and this is kind of basic AE 101. So if you can hear, there's that slight bit. That difference, I can't tell where it's coming from. I couldn't tell you, honestly. But what I can tell you is something's happening. And there's no processing on the master. These are just meters. Just simply meters. So that's how I know that something is happening. What I noticed when I listened back on headphones on the Black Line interface just to see, okay, what's really going on here. And to me, I'm hearing just slight variations of separation of the synth fills, the drums. It's I could see why people do this now on the higher end things. So I'm like, you know what? Might as well give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And the truth of the matter, I mean, the science is right here that there's differences. If it was no different, absolutely none, you wouldn't hear anything with the phase cancellation. So I decided to do loopback from the DAW project, going back into the interface. And then this is bits and pieces. Why this is bits and pieces is because in my project, I don't have the project open. I've been messing around with a lot of Acoustica stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of bored. Let's throw on one of their pre's, literally just and what Acoustica is, they are, I can find them for you. Acoustica, let's just do Amber as an example. Amber. They do basically damn good hardware emulations, and they're taxing as hell on your CPU, but really, these things are smackers, man. And I've been loving using them recently. Some people may say, but it's not the real hardware. Well, but it's still a damn great tool, so I highly recommend them. Check them out. Acoustica, man, they're killing it. Maybe you've heard of them. Maybe you don't like them. Is fine. I happen to like them. So what I did was I took their pre's and I put it on every single channel with this 1, 2, 3 renders. This is basically just straight out of the DAW, and I swear to God, I hear a difference. So why this is bits and pieces is this is bits of the quote unquote the Avalon pre's, and this is quote unquote the EMI console pre's. So anyhow, that's kind of what this bits and pieces are. Where the real fun is happening for me is not only that, I mean, yeah, it's freaking awesome. I mean, everything that is a whole, when you add everything up, it really does make a difference. So, I definitely 100% can hear a difference from, this is straight out of the DAW. This is with the, like I said, the quote-unquote Avalon pre from their EQ. So, what's happening here is basically project full of pre's in every channel, plus the loopback. For some reason, the vocal on the quote-unquote EMI pre's got a little distorted here, and
the supreme being, ancient and silver.
It's a little distorted.
Troubled times.
So that's what these little bits and pieces are. I know I'm not doing the best explanation and I might be getting people lost, but basically what's happening is I've just loaded this project with some awesome new quote-unquote analog emulations, and it's made a difference and it's made it more fun for me. And I like how this final loop back that I have going on here is really the bee's knees. Now, I want to go into the chain that I've been using, and I'm going to start from the beginning. Turn all of these off until here. So I've been kind of just reading up just for fun on what analog gear exists out there in the world, what these guys are emulating, and I know this is all of the block stuff. Maybe some of the analog guys might hate me, but it's okay. I'm having mad fun. And this is for hard dance. I'm seeing people use other tools for other things, which is totally fine. This is supposedly an emulation of the SSL Fusion, which it's got its own drive in here, a little bit of saturation, and I'm slightly adding a bit from here. I don't like using the character words that come with some of these parameters, but like elliptic, dimension. Of course, they want to make it sound big. That's audio marketing. But what I'm noticing on this first module is definitely a little bit of drive. So this is a little bit of just stereo width, right? So if I deactivate this, sorry. Sorry, I had to I gotta rewire this thing before I do a damn stream again. So I'm gonna do before and after and just listen. Something I found really important, especially when trying to do any sort of stereo with shit, is always check your pre's and post it. So really, I don't notice too much of a difference when I am in mono, which is kind of awesome. So that's kind of keeping it just as subtle as I possibly can. And I think that's just basically key along this whole mastering world, especially from when I'm learning with other guys. And I mean, you don't want to make like crazy ass changes. I mean, this already looks like a pretty hardcore enough change. Let me just check something real fast. Make sure I'm still. All right, well, I'm still live. Cool. It's been 15 minutes. Look at that. And I have one viewer. Isn't that great? Thank you, viewer. It's fine. I'm just doing this just for kind of my own vocal explanation too. I'm probably going to do this for another 15 minutes. Okay, so that, I'm just keeping it simple. Little drive, little stereo width. maybe I'm performing a sacrilege right now, and I'm putting a clipper on at 100% before other parts of the chain, which to me, I've tried narrowing around and moving around things. I like where this is sitting. That's just me. So this saturation knob is super, super, super subtle. I think this high pass is at like 150 or something like that. I gotta refer back to the manual. I've got a bunch of these tools just recently, and so I don't quote me, but it's very subtle. Where the magic is this third algorithm. I keep it at 3/4 is a little extreme. The clipper on this is awesome. The compressor is like, I can barely hear a thing, and that's kind of how I want it. I don't want it going popping crazy. So again, sorry I had the mic open. You guys are gonna have to live with that. This is definitely not what some would call subtle, but I mean, when I'm using a clipper, man, it's like I'm trying to push it as far as I can. I mean, it's not like I'm doing crazy multiband compression. It's not like I'm doing crazy peak peak or any RMS compression itself on a single band. So I think crunching the clipper, as long as you're not like literally analog clipping or soft clipping or anything that's completely out of nature audible, has been fine for me. So I left that as is. And if I really want to play around with it right now, so the algorithms on here are kind of, they're slightly a little more extreme as you get to a higher number. And I did trim out, because when it is clipping in here, it really does actually make an audible difference. So with that, I keep the ratio kind of light, and the release pretty light too. So it's the compression subtle, the clipper is a little heavier. The saturation, like I said, even if you crank it to 100, there's really like not much that's totally happening. Yeah, I kind of see that compressor hitting a little hotter than I'd like on this part. But on the audible sense, it's fine. Why this didn't deactivate during the automate, I'm kind of bummed. Oh well. I'll go into that a little later, but I want to do before and after. Yeah, pretty sick. I really do like what the sound of the pre's are doing in the project. If I had sat with you guys in the project, it'd fucking take 2 hours. So, anyhow, the next thing I got going on is a 2-band limiter. And these are all just like acoustic as shit. And I mean, I just have mad fun with them. And it really kind of adds just a different, subtle character. And it's fun, sure. I mean, I could use Pro MB or Isotope's Ozone multiband dynamics with the mid side. In fact, I like it for its mid side. But once I start adding too many things in the pot, it's starting to it starts to convolute what I think the final should sound like in terms of what the original mix sounded like. So I really try not to get too warbled in like 4-band mid-side compression. I found it to be helpful at times in the past. Not in this project though, definitely not. And I really try to get the mix as final as I can before doing anything crazy. So this isn't really too crazy for me. 2-band limiting. And it does a good job. I mean, before and after, I mean, I'm just going to go back to the same parts again. I should have said brace your guys' ears. So brace your guys' ears. There's and the crossover for this, I think, is at 1K, 1.5. It's either 1.5, or 2. So, and it's surprising to me how, like, the perceived loudness of the kick in the middle, here. The perceived loudness of the kick in the middle. I know I didn't even show you guys the AB going on, but I hope you guys heard it. This kick in the middle right here. Versus the gain reduction happening in like the side bass line with the acid line. It's interesting to see how the perceived loudness of this one, and even on the waveform, is much more forgiving on how much gain is actually being reduced. Even on this gated kick, it's funny. I mean, this is all things that I got to continue to learn while I'm mixing. Why the peaks are so high on this one, and in the project, it's really not that case at all. I'll just even play it. I found that interesting. I know I haven't even gotten to like the breakdown of the climax yet, and this is like fucking my favorite part. So anyhow, next thing I got going on here is a quote-unquote tape saturation emulation. I think what's honestly selling me is the showing the harmonic structure of said quote-unquote tape machine. But like I said, these guys do a good job at, I mean, they do a good job at making things sound awesome. I mean, I take it that they're pretty close to the real deal. And I've seen some YouTube videos on guys shooting out like crazy-ass GML multiband compressors with the Acoustica stuff, and there is a significant difference with the hardware. I can say that. But I can't afford an $8,000 multiband compressor, and I'm sure not a lot of us can. Maybe some of you guys can, but anyhow, I'm sticking with these. So what this is doing is given it's given the response. You can kind of go figure from there. A little bump in the low end, 40 something hertz, and just crazy harmonics in the mids all the way up till the top end. And you can even see from 5 to 10 the bands are narrow, and like it gets a little bit dippy here, which is fine because I found the mix after some of the limiting happening to be a little bright anyway. And like I think I went back and forth on messing with gain structure plus these algorithms, which look kind of like this. So I'm on B2. I gotta remember that. So you can you have their manual. You got to read the manuals of these things. I have to, but it does show you. No, they just name the tape emulations themselves. If you do look at the manual, though, they do show what kind of machines they're emulating. No, there's a dude that's posted a blog on it. Anyhow, but makes for a great effect, though. Yeah, that one doesn't even sound bad. B9. I might be going back to B2 or B9. I'll do a render and some analyzing and see what I favor more. Anyhow, I want to get to the cool part. And do an A/B there. This is my favorite.
The Preserver. Returning to Earth in troubled times. Restoring the balance between good and evil. Protector of the universe. Vishnu.
Yes, I am the type to kind of mix things light and then crunch shit later in the master. There are guys out there that say, hey, get the mix totally crazy, and then you won't have to do much in mastering. I guess I'm kind of, not the opposite, but I like kind of playing around with these tools and putting them on the final mix and really seeing what I can do. And plus, with the power in my own hands, I can go back in the project and modify as need, so that's the beauty of working like this also. It also can be tedious at times. However, I'm going to turn on this limiter, so I suggest you turn down your speakers, possibly. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. So that's what this is, right? Talpe is their tape emulation engine. I kind of like B9. It's a little more subtle. It's a little more safer on the ears and less tinnitus. I don't want to play these reference tracks in the stream because I will get this booted. So, also another thing I'm doing, linear phase high pass on the sides of the lows. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, given certainly below 150 is questionable. I kind of trimmed off some sides on here. Some of the reverbs were getting a little too washy and a little too muddy, so I think it's a lot of cleaner now. That is so much cleaner, to be honest. It gives things just that much more room to sound okay. So with last but not least, I'll throw one more limiter on here. I've had times where I've thrown double limiters just of two different kinds just to get the algorithm response of another one to keep transients safe, but I think the mix is good enough on here to where one is fine. Aggressive AF shoots. I'm pretty stoked on how this turned out, man. It is 6 o'clock, though. Perfect timing. So I just wanted to give you guys a lay of the land of kind of what this project looks like, what my workflow has looked like, literally going into the project and just using analog emulation just makes things that much more fun and a little more sweeter sounding. The stock Ableton EQ I'm starting to find a little bit shitty. Sure, it gets the job done in certain areas and certain places for little requirement needed, but unlike bigger instruments like the big saws, some of the bassline stuff, the kicktails, Some of the cool percussion, I reach for a channel strip plugin because of the nature of how they're peaking and dipping and filtering just sound overall. And I think I've gone into projects and completely mixed things, and it's totally made a hell of a difference. And so again, I'm just using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's plenty enough. I think, light compression to clipping. Before that, a little bit of drive, and I didn't want to use the drive after the clipper. I think that would have caused a little more records than I would want, and plus this clipper's pretty smooth. 2-band limiter. The limiter's buttery smooth. As long as I'm not driving it. In this project, it works. In other projects, it's not worked for me. So I kept it there. Again, I'm using this quote-unquote tape emulating saturation. It just adds that much more flavor. And I keep the limiter on here, and then I take it on and off. There's a little more room to breathe, but I think it's a little dull. Why not? I mean, really, I could reach for FabFilter Saturn if I really wanted to, but I mean, hey, this kind of just makes things a little more fun. It's all about having fun too, man. So enjoy yourself. Treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. So that's about it, man. Mid-low cutoff. I think this project's sounding super fat. I had just finished this basically today, so I just wanted to share with you guys my excitement. I gotta fix this stupid cable in the back of this interface and rewire it so I never have to deal with this phase issue again. But I've been so busy on the machine that I don't want to go back there and pull all the cables. It's just a pain in the ass. Everything's all connected where they need to be right now. So, with that, I want to say thanks for watching and have a good one. Yep, I'm going to end this stream here in 5, 4,